Springs Communications Office, and today we have officials from the city, from the county, from the utility, and from PPR OEM just to talk about the winter preparedness actions that we're taking around snowplow operations, individual preparedness, and how the utility is preparing for what may come here in the next day and a half. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Corey Farkas with our City Public Works and Jack Ladley with the County Public Works to talk about snowplow operations and what they're doing to prepare for this snowstorm.
Good morning. My name is Corey Farkas. I'm the Public Works Operations and Maintenance Division Manager for the City of Colorado Springs. This storm is going to be an interesting one. It'll be probably the largest snowfall that we've seen this year or this season. However, with the warmer temperatures that we're seeing, we're not really expecting to see road conditions like you would see them during the colder temperatures in December and January. At this point, we're expecting quite a bit of melt, obviously, with the sun helping out today and in the previous week. Initial snowfall, we'll start to see a lot of melt. We'll start to see some slushing up, and then as the temperatures start to drop in the overnight, we will start to see that moisture tighten up on the roadways. What that really means for us is a lot of plowing and not as much material usage during a warmer storm like this. However, road conditions will continue to deteriorate during the storm and during the operation. So we do encourage folks, if you can, stay home and stay off the roadways. Please do so. It allows our operators to actually do their job while they're out there. They're not just driving; they are operating a large piece of equipment out there, having to deal with traffic, a large piece of equipment, as well as the plow and the sander. So they're multitasking out there, and a lot of times they won't see some of the smaller cars. So please give them as much space as you can while they're out there. Right now, we have a full hookup called out for close of business today. The PM crew will be going home at noon today so that they can respond at midnight tonight for their shift change. The daytime crew will be sticking around through the evening hours to make sure that everything is good. We have a snow patrol that'll be going out probably around 9 o'clock tonight to ensure that we don't have snow falling early. If we do, they activate the team and we'll be out. Looking at about 50 plus trucks that are going to be ready to go to fight this storm by close of business today. Questions later?
Yeah, we'll do questions.
All right, good morning. I'm Jack Ladley. I'm the Deputy Director for the El Paso County Department of Public Works. I'm not as talented as Corey, so I'm going to use some notes, if you'll forgive me for that. Today, we're looking at snowfall rates up to 2 inches an hour. Traditionally, with snowfall in El Paso County, what we'll find is we'll get a lot of snow, say, in the north, not so much in the south, and it gives us the opportunity to move our resources where we are getting the more substantial snow. I don't think that this snow event is going to allow us to do that. While I think that the impact across the county is going to vary, there is going to be impact across the county. So those plows that have an assigned route are going to be on that assigned route. Regardless, El Paso County Snow and Ice Control crews are prepared to respond. Much like Corey's team, my team, the evening shift will be going home at noon, getting rest and prepared to come back at midnight tonight. The day shift will stay on and cover us through the evening hours. We currently have a full hookup in place of all of our snow and ice control equipment. That's 35 tandem axle dump trucks, approximately 20 graders, give or take one or two, and 3 front-end loaders, front-end loader mounted snow blowers. So these are very large snow blowers. Don't have them mounted up. We have them pre-checked out, ready to roll if we might happen to need them. We have stockpiles of snow and ice control materials at facilities throughout the county. This includes our main yard, which is at Acres, Fox Run, Peyton, Callahan, and our materials include granulated salt, salt sand mixtures, salt brine, and a limited quantity of magnesium chloride. So we are fully prepared and ready to go. Our snow and ice control operations will be based on a priority 1, 2, 3. Of course, we're going to focus on our priority 1 roads first. We get those cleaned up, we'll move to our priority 2 roads, and then we'll move into residential areas, assuming that we get 6 inches of accumulated snow on the roadways. I do ask that our citizens remain patient. If snow comes in at the rate that we're anticipating it comes in, it's going to take us a while to clear the priority 1s and 2s. By the time we get into residential areas, I anticipate people will have plowed their driveways, plowed their sidewalks, those kinds of things, and then we come in with a large piece of equipment, and much to the chagrin of all of us, myself included, at times we will cover those sidewalks back up. We do our dead level best not to do that, but we ask for your patience. I think on top of that, I would ask our citizens that if you have a neighbor that needs help, please help them out, particularly with a snowfall like this. This is going to be a heavy, wet snow, so let's help one another out. This event has the potential to cause damages, among other things, to include downed trees. If you come across a downed tree on a roadway, I'd ask that you contact our in unincorporated El Paso County. Let me caveat that. I'd ask that you call our customer service section at 719-520-6460 and report that downed tree in the roadway, and we'll try and get out there and take care of it. You can also report issues through Citizen Connect, and that's citizenconnect.elpasoco.com. Again, I want to repeat that. That's citizenconnect.elpasoco.com. I think finally what I'd just like to say is that the Public Works Department is prepared to respond, and our crews, this is what they live for, and they're very good at their job. But Mother Nature is in control on this one. She's big, she's bad, and she's going to bring it. And so there may come a point in time where we lose roadways close. But trust that we're going to be on this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until we get it cleaned up. Thank you.
Well, you'd think that I wouldn't need notes, considering this is something I supposedly do regularly, but I may have to glance at these, make sure I cover everything. Steve Berry with Colorado Springs Utilities, thank you all for being here. Thanks to the Office of Emergency Management, the city, the county, for bringing us together for this. You know, this is really important that when we face these kind of weather events, that our community is prepared. We are, as a utility, also prepared, in large thanks to many of the folks in this room. You know, the Office of Emergency Management, the employees for the city and county out there plowing the roadways, the first responders, really everyone out there helping our employees do their work, as if we have a power outage, they're able to access sites and that they can restore service. We're very fortunate at Colorado Springs Utilities in that about 70% of our system is underground. However, there are still significant portions of the city that are served by overhead lines. And I think when you have these springtime heavy wet snows, that's when we grow concerned about our overhead lines and poles, and also areas that are surrounded by established vegetation. So while we and City Forestry and a lot of great partners do a lot of proactive work to manage that growth, it's still present. It's still something we have to do with or deal with. And what we see in instances like this with that snow, it puts a lot of stress on those overhead lines. It can bring tree limbs in contact with those lines, or actually bring those lines down, which is a great segue into some very important community safety tips. If anyone sees a down line, always assume that it's energized. Stay away from it at least 35 feet. If a line comes down in your backyard, definitely stay in your home unless emergency responders tell you to leave and it's time to evacuate. So that's very important. As well, just generally, it's important to note that if you're in an area served by overhead lines, you may have a mast, or you will have a mast on your home, either at the roof line or on the roof, and that's where your service electric lines overhead come into your home and your meter. And if that mast is damaged, it's the homeowner's responsibility to hire a licensed electrician to do the work and make the repairs before we can restore service. So that's very important. If you're in an area that's served by overhead lines and you have an outage, just make sure, we don't want you to get up close to it, but at least visually inspect it, see if there's any damage to it, and then we can safely restore service. Some just other general safety tips. We're seeing a big increase in the use of portable electric generators, especially since the December 2021 windstorm. And so they're great if they're used correctly. I think that is the key. We have no issue with our customers using portable generators. It's just very important, critically important, that you read the manual, you follow the manufacturer's instructions, you're cognizant of where you place that electric generator, that you don't modify it in any way. This is very important, because if you do modify it or you use it outside the manufacturer's guidance, you run the risk for fire, for electrocution, for danger to our line crews who are out there doing the work trying to restore service in the event of an outage. It does remind me Colorado Springs Utilities is definitely prepared for this event. We have a legacy of being prepared, like the city, like the county. So our employees, particularly our electric line crews, are on full standby status. They're ready to roll and respond. We would ask, like was stated earlier, for people to have patience. If you're in an area that's served by overhead lines and you've had a lot of snow and it's brought down equipment, and it's hard then for our crews sometimes to get to those overhead infrastructure points. So definitely have patience with us. If you have an outage, this is very important, that you not call 448-4800 during a severe weather event. Instead, that's why we have an online outage map. That's why we have a free mobile app. You can track the status of an outage using that app and our online outage map. So please do that instead, and that's so that the phone lines are freed up for true emergencies around natural gas, or there's a threat to life and safety, immediate safety. So those are important reminders there. I think just in general, again, from a water, wastewater, natural gas standpoint, we're ready as well, and those service lines. Is just that typically with these events, we don't face quite the same challenge. So that's all I had. Toby?
Hello, my name is Toby Blanchard, and I'm with Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. So know that we have been in contact with all of our response partners throughout the city and the county. We've been working with our nonprofits, our first responders, the National Weather Service, and anybody else that typically provides emergency services during these kinds of events to get ready. Your part is making sure that you're prepared. Try to run your errands while the roads are clear, while the snow is not falling. That way, when it does start to fall, you can stay at home safely and just enjoy the snowstorm. If you do have to go out, we recommend that you have a basic emergency kit in your vehicle. Things like kitty litter or sand, shovels, a cell phone charger, those kinds of basic things in your vehicle. And then if you have to go, just grab some things from around the house, such as a blanket, water, and snacks, in case you find yourself having to shelter in place in your car for a time. I want to reiterate, checking in with your neighbors. If you know of a neighbor that has specific needs, check in with them and make sure that you know how to contact them and just be able to assist them in case they need that during this event. If you want more information on emergency preparedness, you can check our website at pproem.com. And then other recommendations that we have is to register your phone with Peak Alerts. That's peakalerts.org. And then that way you'll be prepared to receive emergency notifications, not just regarding this winter storm, but for any kind of emergency that you might want to be aware of. Thank you.
Thanks. All the speakers. We'll open it up for questions. For those of you live streaming, do you want me to repeat the questions, or do you think you'll be able to pick them up? It'd be good? Okay, so we'll go ahead and open up for questions. So just fire away and we'll bring up whichever speaker you need to.
Are the county or the city pre-treating the roads? Why or why not?
No, we're not pre-treating the roads. We're anticipating this to be a very wet event, and probably starting out with some rainfall. So if we pre-treat the roads, it'll just wash that off prior to the onset of snowfall. So at this point, the county is not pre-treating the roads.
Is there anything, I'm sorry,
No,
I can answer that.
No, at this point in time, the City of Colorado Springs won't be pre-treating any roadways as well. I think Jack said it best.
Has the county been talking to or planning on giving any additional resources to kind of like the monument area? We heard they might be closing or anticipating a closure of the monument pass, and just kind of up in that region. Obviously, we know that more north we go, there's kind of more snow.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, traditionally with our snowfalls, we're given an opportunity to move resources. I don't think that this event is going to allow that, and so that means that the crew that we normally have assigned to northern El Paso County is going to be the crew that has to handle this. If we find that we don't get that full impact across the county and we have that opportunity to shift resources, we'll absolutely do that. Much to your point, we're anticipating the northern part of the county to get smacked a little more dramatically than say the southern part of the county.
Can both of you speak to what you're planning on? Sounds like wet snow is the issue here. It's hard to refer back if you guys weren't here in '97, but we often think plows can go through anything, but we got enough snow that plows couldn't even go through neighborhoods. At what point does it become a strain on the equipment you have when we're talking about wet snow and accumulation? And does that slow you down and require multiple passes?
It does, and that's a very good point. It does slow us down. You start taking a look at heavy, wet snow. The last thing you want to do is charge a tandem axle dump truck through that. You're going to toss a tremendous amount of snow, a tremendous distance, and you can cause damage to homes, cars, things like that. And so we really do have to slow down and watch what we're doing. Kind of to your point on, and I'm assuming what happened then was roads got completely plugged. We could see something like that happen on the north end of the county if we get the snowfall that we're talking about, particularly the 2-inch-an-hour rate. I don't anticipate it at this point. I think our trucks will handle it just fine. But there is always that possibility. And so we have 20 graders. Those graders have V-plows on them, a V-plow capability that can open those roads up. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have loader-mounted, front-end loader-mounted snow blowers where we can go in and open roads up as well. So we have a lot of tools at our disposal. We'll just see what this storm throws at us.
While you're standing there, wind is often a factor in the county. I haven't heard the term blizzard and whatever else, but is that less of a factor looking like more of accumulation than a wind issue, or is county a kind of a wild card wind?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. One of the things that we talked about this morning when I was talking to the highway manager was just that. What does our winds look like with this event? We took a quick look at National Weather Service, and it looked like we were going to have a period of 30-mile-an-hour winds with gusts to 40 miles an hour. That could pose a problem for us, and certainly it'll pose a problem for how that snow accumulates on roadways. And at this point, again, it's just kind of a wait and see. We're going to be out at it from the moment snow starts falling, so we'll just see what it throws at us.
I have a question for Steve with utilities. What are some of those neighborhoods where you know they are serviced by above ground power lines that maybe you're going to be keeping the closest eye on?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we use the 2021 windstorm as an example, the Old North End was heavily impacted, downtown area, central Colorado Springs. So I think it's hard to pinpoint a specific area. It really depends on how the weather rolls in. And wind conditions, as stated, that can play a role, if there are any, in who gets impacted the hardest. It's hard to predict exactly, but certainly any area, if you're served by overhead lines, and we know we have a spring winter storm come in, it's always good to be prepared. So I mean, I think that's the biggest message that Toby emphasized. It's very important. Everyone here has emphasized that you're prepared. I forgot to mention, if you're served by medical equipment, if you rely on medical equipment for your life, definitely have a plan B in case you are without electricity, and make those plans now. Ideally, weeks ago, but have a plan B, someone else that you can stay with or somewhere else you can go that has electricity so that you can power up that medical equipment and make sure that you're safe.
And then is that more of a concern if we have wind, or could just the sheer weight of this heavy snow break those lines?
Yeah, I think Bill brought up a great example for those of us who have been here a while. I don't think we had a lot of wind conditions back then. It was just a lot of heavy, wet snow. And at the time, foliage, I think, was starting to grow on trees and vegetation, and that contributed to some of the challenges there as well. So it's not always a wind issue.
Is there anything that utilities crews can do today to sort of take a look at those overhead lines and maybe avoid issues?
Yeah, it's really hard to put anything in place now that would prevent a line from coming down due to severe weather. I think there are things that we do proactively, as well as these gentlemen behind me, to manage vegetation around key infrastructure. We certainly do it as a utility and manage vegetation growth near our lines, and we try to do that really throughout the year so that when these kind of instances happen, we're as prepared as can be. But there's no full guarantee, unfortunately.
And when crews go out there, if there is an outage, what conditions are they having to work with, and how long can those outages be because of the conditions they're working in?
Yeah, I think Jack very astutely mentioned the fact that, there are some situations, and that's why we're so reliant on these excellent folks behind me, because they really pave the way for us in many cases so that we can reach very narrow, in some cases, depending on the part of the city, alleyways to reach distribution lines. So if there's a lot of snow there and these folks can't reach that with snowplows, and oftentimes they can't, depending on how severe the weather conditions are, and so that can definitely slow down the restoration process. If overhead infrastructure is damaged, if it's just a down line, sometimes that can be a pretty quick process. If it's a down line in combination with a broken pole, that can definitely extend the outage longer than it normally would be. Sure.
Corey, I got a question for you. Can you speak to priority roads? With it coming down and potentially 2 inches of accumulation an hour, is there potential you be on, I'm trying to think of a priority road, one that goes to Memorial Hospital or maybe Briargate Boulevard. Could you be on those and not be on the secondary for an extended amount of time?
Yeah, so, again, and I think Jack said it well, Mother Nature's in control, right? And so while this is going to be in what we consider a simple storm, and simple and easy aren't the same thing, right? So warm temperatures, we're going to be plowing, because of the temperatures, probably won't need to use a lot of material while we're out there. So kind of simple in that respect. They can still be very difficult in the rate of snow that's falling. So if we get a 2 inch an hour snowfall rate, no organization can keep up with that, right? That's just a rate of snowfall that's, we're going to be doing our best on our priority ones at that point in time. And what that means is the assigned driver that's on that particular route, that priority one route, is got a circular route that they hit. We'll take Academy, for example. They're going to run Academy from Austin Bluffs up to I-25, turn around and come back to Austin Bluffs. That's that particular operator's priority route. By the time they make that loop and get back to Austin Bluffs where they started, at a 2 inch an hour snowfall rate, it looks like they weren't even there. And so he's going to take that inside lane, and they're going to continue to do that loop continuously until that snowfall rate starts to lighten up and they can start to make some ground on that particular route that they're doing. So those identified routes, the priority routes, are going to be our large arterials, Academy, Woodman, Union, roadways like that, are going to be our priority first. And during those times of heavy snowfall, it may look like we're not even there. That plow may have started at the beginning of that route and is in route, in loop, for that particular route, and the rate of snowfall will be such that it looks like we weren't there.
Can you also speak to correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing priority routes for priority purposes. It's not to pave the way because you're bored at your house to get out there. It's so doctors and ambulances and fire can do their
Correct.
job.
Yes, we've got priority ones, which are going to be our main arterials. Our priority twos are going to be our collector roadways that are in neighborhoods. Typically, our schools are going to be on our priority two routes. We will not be addressing those until such time as our priority one routes are at least as clear and safe as they can possibly be. So we could go through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning and not have touched any of the priority two routes yet, because we're still working on those priority ones. If we were to get to, you mentioned the blizzard of '97, if we were to get to such a point where we needed all of our resources on what we call our emergency route, we've got an emergency route that goes in front of all of the hospitals. At that point, all of our resources will be used running those routes to keep those hospital routes, those safety routes open for our first responders. And then we will also team up with PD and FD to make strike teams that can go into neighborhoods if help is called for.
There are some variables. I was going to ask Office of Emergency Management. Is that right? Variables. What point do you guys decide whether you're going to activate or not for Office of Emergency Management? And are you planning on activating, or are you going to wait and see with this storm?
So right now we're actually partially activated. We're already reaching out. We have coordination calls already scheduled with our emergency response partners and our nonprofit partners. What we'll do is, depending on the calls for service, or if any one of our partners starts to need augmented assistance, or if we have to start looking at coordinating resources and information, we will absolutely activate. We already have a staffing plan for who's going to be here.
I don't know if perhaps you'd want to answer this, or maybe utilities, either one of you. Since it sounds like the northern part of the city and Monument might see higher totals, I've heard potentially up to 2 feet. How important is it that folks clear the area under their exhaust pipes coming out of their homes, if it were to get to a point where gases couldn't exit the home?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things that, in fact, it reminded me about, was it 97, Bill? Yeah, memory's fuzzy, but I remember we were having a lot of challenges with snow drifts building up over dryer vents, things like that, which is not a utility-specific risk. It's just a general risk for carbon monoxide poisoning. The same is true for, you want to make sure snow is cleared from your gas meter as well. So that's also very important, just from a general safety standpoint.
Any other questions? Well, perfect. That will conclude our availability today. If any of you have questions, just follow up with myself or with Scott with the county as well, and we can put you in touch with the right people. So thank you for coming today.